Hey, Dr. Karen Can here. Welcome to another edition of the Spiritual Medicine Digest. Now, I'm still a little bit stuffy. This week I had like cold and allergy symptoms, and I did lose some sleep, and well, let's just say I tend to pack things into my day. So I think the universe was trying to tell me, will you please slow down? You're supposed to be on vacation. So I was like, okay. So I had a nice restful day last night and then slept in today. So definitely feeling a lot better. So first of all, thanks to everyone that came onto the webinar on Tuesday night. That was me being ambitious while I was on vacation. We did the webinar on the X39 stem cell phototherapy patch. And what's super heartwarming and exciting is that, a friend of mine here in Toronto had a wound that wasn't healing, and I was like, oh, please try these patches, and thankfully, she did, and she just said it was like night and day, the difference, and I was so happy about that. So again, thanks for everyone who was able to turn up live on that webinar on Tuesday. Now, the spiritual news for this week is in two parts. One is about what's going on with us, increasing our empathy and feeling. Now, this has been an ongoing thing as the ascension process as the ascension process occurs. We get more and more spiritual gifts. We get more expanded gifts. We get more empathetic, so to speak. Even if you're an empath, you get more empathetic. But even if you're not an empath, you also get more empathetic, meaning that you can feel and sense other people's stuff, and not just other people, but bigger things than just individual people. So for many of us light warrior sensitive souls, this past, I say, week and a half, 2 weeks maybe, we have gone from this place of individuation to energetically being one with the Infiniverse, which is everything that is ever manifested. I know that sounds like kind of crazy, right? But there's a few of us, myself included, and this cold symptoms was related as well, where we could feel into, not purposefully, but feel into what was going on in the whole of reality, whatever was detoxing, if there were entities that were interfering or attempting to interfere, we would kind of feel those symptoms. So if we can feel into energetically, because we are one energetically with the Infiniverse for some of us, why is it that we just feel symptoms? Like, why don't we feel like the bliss, So I think that in my conversation with Source this morning, my understanding is that our energetic bodies has this habit of, when we do feel another's energy, to somehow, I don't know, prioritize or localize or something the so-called uncomfortable, negative, potentially threatening things versus the so-called positive, comfortable things. So one of the things we can do or attempt to do is to erase, dissolve, and uncreate that energetic habit. So the TOLPAKAN Healing Command for that would be, I now command that all negative energetic habits that is not for my highest and greatest good, that causes discomfort, pain, imbalance, be dissolved and uncreated in the highest and best way, all directions of time, with ease and grace. You don't have to say it that way, but that's the idea of it, right? So we want to pull those negative energy habits out. As Rupert Sheldrake talks about positive, negative, morphic fields, a lot of these things are just habits. So we have to like relearn things or create new habits and then make them the dominant habits. So then you can always download the positive, energetic habits as well that are currently available. Okay, if you do that, the problem still is that some of us are energetically one with the Infiniverse or mass consciousness or Mother Earth or whatever, and it may not be our soul mission or role to necessarily direct healing to the Infiniverse or do entity clearings. It may not be your soul mission. So if you don't need to be energetically one, which we all started becoming more and more sensitive to that. So about a third of our light warrior sensitive souls, as opposed to just 3% 2 weeks ago, are energetically one with the Infiniverse. Okay, what you can do is request and do a quote unquote healing to individuate yourself energetically from the Infiniverse and everything and everyone else. If it's for the highest and greatest good, it'll happen. If you need to know more, you would have to turn to the TOLPAKAN Healing Guides, for example, to see what else maybe needs to correction or balance in order for you to successfully do that, if you are allowed to do that. So in TOLPAKAN Healing, we ask specific questions, and we would connect to source, and we would ask, in this case, is it for my highest and greatest good and allowed to individuate energetically from the Infiniverse and everything and everyone else. Now, of course, that's a multifaceted question. So you can do one thing like, is it allowed and permitted for me to individuate energetically from the Infiniverse? So that's like one option, right? So if you get a yes, then if you don't need to know more, and if you do, you have to go to the TOLPAKAN Healing Guides, but if you don't need to know more, then you would just do the directive. I now command that I be energetically individuated from the Infiniverse in all the ways that are possible in the highest and best way. Thank you. So you can, even though your ability is to tap into and feel into all of creation, if you don't need to do that, and if it isn't functional for your highest and greatest good, you can then individuate back out. So my understanding from sources, there may be about 3% of light warrior sensitive souls that do need to still be fully one with the Infiniverse. Interestingly, I'm not one of them. Yahoo! So there's maybe some of you that have that job, and every single one of that 3% are healers. And at least in our group, we're healers. So hopefully you can figure out if that's you. There are other things that you are responsible for. But for the rest of us, we can do that individuation. Now, physically, of course, we're in physical and body. So we're physically separate already. So you don't have to concern yourself too much with the physical separation. But you can also check in to see if you're mentally, energetically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and dimensionally individuated from the Infiniverse, because if that's allowed, you can do that as well. And that might give you some symptom relief. And again, just go ahead and make that intention to pull, negative habits, energetic and other types of habits out of your field. And you can download the positive habits in positive morphic field, so you can then start manifesting based on the positive versus what has always been. So yeah, so let me know, and you can comment if you're on YouTube, comment underneath here, or Facebook, comment under whether or not you felt like you were successful and allowed to individuate energetically, especially from the Infiniverse, and whether or not that made a difference in your symptoms. The other thing I want to share spiritually is that because of our increased spiritual gifts, sometimes our clairsentient gift gets so big that it needs to be balanced. So go ahead and just check with TOLPAKAN healing testing, how balanced is my clairsentience balance, and get a number out of 100%. And if it isn't 100%, go ahead and rebalance that using a TOLPAKAN Healing Directive, and let me know what you get after that and how that feels to you, because that was helpful for some other folks. So a couple of announcements is on Monday's radio show, Dr. Dennis and I are back in the Ask the Doctors segment of, the LifeWave calls that we do every single month. These are advanced protocols. And we're going to be working on, the Chinese medicine theory related to post-traumatic stress disorder and those types of traumas, and how you can use acupuncture points and then the LifeWave patches to help patch and improve how you feel relative to those types of trauma. So I'm super excited for that show. So join us Monday. We'll put, if you're on my mailing list, we'll send you the link, and I'll put the phone number that you can call in live if you want live advice on how to patch yourself to help with releasing these patterns of trauma. Yeah, it should be really, really cool. Okay, guys, I'm running out of time, so I gotta run. Lots of love. Talk to you next week. Bye for now.